we're talking about a lot of first and second year offenses. There's a first year offense and a first year quarterback right in your backyard in Carolina. And they had the week off. So they lost to the off week, which is tough. But now they've got.
What did you say? What did you just slide a little dig in there? Huh?
They've got CJ coming in this week. What is the talk going on in Carolina? Is it annoying? Are you annoyed with the talk in Carolina right now?
I think so. Yeah, I am. I'll just say I'm annoyed with it because one, there's all these narratives. One is, Steve's on the Panthers payroll. No, I'm not. Steve is making excuses. No, I'm just telling you what it is. I had someone say that Steve called CJ dumb. I never said CJ was dumb. That never came out of my mouth, and I don't believe the young man is dumb. I think he's hell of intelligent, and I'll say it. I watched his film, and I've never played quarterback in my life, and I don't think I could play quarterback in my life. One, because of my height. Two, because of the workload that you need to play as a quarterback. And I've only played wide receiver and corner and running back. I've never played quarterback. So I don't know one thing about what it takes to be a college quarterback. Now, I evaluate film and say, hey, this guy is making a right read or wrong read because I know offenses. And I'm the eye in the sky and I get to watch it enough times. I go, oh, this is the routes they're supposed to run. And when I see somebody on film doing this, he's hesitating, and yeah, I can play, armchair quarterback. What I think is going to happen, which I think is an unfair expectation, if Bryce Young, and it has nothing to do with yards, if Bryce Young does not, and Bryce Young led by the Carolina Panthers, do not beat the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud, this fan base is going to say, and everybody's going to say, was it a mistake? And I that's cringe. That makes me cringe because 7-8 games in, you're saying now that was a mistake and that was the worst pick ever. Let's be honest, man. There's been a lot of first-round busts at quarterback. It doesn't look like Bryce. I've seen some we've all witnessed some first-round busts. We can Google first-round busts, and usually first-round busts don't, in the 8 weeks, they're not, throwing it for 237 yards and a few touchdowns. It looks totally different. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bryce has made some truly incredible
disagree.
throws.
I need to make an announcement. You're welcome to disagree with me. You're not my yes man.
No.
I just want people to know that.
Heavens, no.
Thank you.
No, I mean, every fan base, this isn't just a Carolina thing. Every fan base acts like this season is the last season that will ever be played of any sport. There's never next year. And I know a fan base like Carolina doesn't want to hear about next year, but when you hire an entirely new coaching staff and then draft a quarterback first overall, you got to be thinking about next. That wasn't a ploy to win the Super Bowl this year. That is a rebuild move. That is where you guys are at. You guys are at year one of the rebuild. To expect, and I understand it's a bad division, so that plays into it too, but to expect to be hoisting a Lombardi this year is insanity. You got to give kids some time. When Peyton Manning, you agree Peyton Manning had a decent career, right?
I think it was all right.
Yeah. I mean, trust there are flaws, and I can point them out at length, but he one of his flaws, awful rookie season. Awful.
Really? Now, we're not saying that Bryce Young is going to turn out to be Peyton Manning.
No.
We're just trying to say that because their first year, you cannot predict who they will be.
No. And I mean, you look at Josh Allen's rookie season. Awful. Just terrible. What did they do? They went out and they got Stephon Diggs, started making it look a little bit better. The Panthers need that part of it before I start saying and they need the offensive line to be better before I start saying Bryce Young is this or that. He's made some throws that Bus can't even dream of making. just can't even dream. Like they have no idea they are options that exist. I did like CJ coming into the draft a little bit more just because of his size, because I thought I'm tired of this like Ohio State narrative I keep hearing. Like Ohio State quarterbacks can't process, can't do this, can't do that. What he did against Georgia last year was as impressive as anything I've seen in college football in the 21st century. I was very high on CJ.
What are the real expectations? And the real expectations that I have coming up into this game is it's another opportunity to see and measure up how far do the Carolina Panthers need to go during free agency and in the draft next year to put Bryce Young in the best position to be successful. The Houston Texans offensive line is playing so much better than the Carolina Panthers. The Houston's defense collectively is playing so much better than the Carolina Panthers. The wide receivers as a whole are playing better than the Carolina Panthers as a whole, right? And so when you put them up like they used to do, like when you play Madden 99, right? When John Madden was still on there versus when they were putting players on there. When you pick that team, it would show you plus and minus like who wins that category. And right now, when I put up the Carolina Panthers and the Houston Texans and offensive line, you have to give it to the Houston Texans. As a whole, you have to give the defense because of injuries. Shaq's not there. J.C. Horn's not there. I don't know if Dante Jackson is going to be available. But I know what the Houston Texans have, and they play 4 quarters of football. The Carolina Panthers, their third quarter for the defense has been the Achilles heel. Now, I have to be honest and fair, it's not their fault because they're down. They're missing some guys that they can really use right now that can help them. And the stress is on because they have to win, and there's this expectation that Bryce was going to be Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, and it's not a realistic expectation.
If I were a Panthers fan, I would be less concerned with Bryce, more concerned with the process which led to getting Bryce. Because I believe, as a fan, I have no inside information. Steve didn't tell me anything. This is just how I view it. I believe the Panthers traded up from 9-1 without knowing who they were going to take. They just wanted to rule the draft board and evaluate from there. They didn't see.
No, that's accurate.
Okay.
That's accurate.
Okay. So that's the process I would more have a problem with than ultimately taking the player. I think if you're going to make a jump that big, it needs to be like, hey, we know that's our guy. We're not wavering one iota.
But here's the thing. If you look at the reports, there were several teams that was trying to jockey. At number 9, you have no way of getting your guy.
No doubt. I'm not saying that.
So moving up to the first pick and being in the driver's seat, where at least the hill you die on is because you got to choose the hill.
Absolutely. I get that they wanted to make that choice. What I'm saying is I think you have to know who you want before you make that trade. Otherwise, you're just kind of being like, we will take whoever we end up liking, not that you were already in love with somebody to go make that trade. That's the difference to me. But when players go back 1-2 and they play the same position, it follows them their whole career. It just is what it is.
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What do you think about Frank Reich giving up play calling?
I want to know when it actually happened because some people are acting like it just happened. Other people are saying it happened a couple weeks ago. So that's where it's like I would love to know when it happened so I could make a better evaluation. But it's interesting. It's tough.
Yeah. I think it's great because you got this offense coordinator that you brought in, and he's not had the opportunity to call the plays. So I think it would be great to allow him to call a full game. Sometimes is hard to balance also managing the game as well. Not everybody does it well. And I'm not saying Frank doesn't do it well. I'm just saying it's like driving a car and trying to email at the same time. You can have tunnel vision that can be hazardous to your health because sometimes you're not aware of things because you're too busy. Like there were times early in the season where they were, they wasted some time because they were getting a call in. But if if you're managing the game as the head coach and not managing the game as a coordinator, sometimes you can get distracted with looking for the next play. That's all I mean. And that's where the stress of the game of the play caller can sometimes be unfair and cause you to miss the little small detail.
So the Panthers should theoretically look better across the board. Not better, more on the same page across the board.
I don't necessarily believe or think because Thomas Brown is calling the plays now that all of a sudden we're gonna go on this 11-game winning streak.
Right.
And all other teams don't know what's coming. We still have a little bit of uncertainty at the offensive line position. We still have some uncertainty of impacting the game outside of Adam Thielen in the pass game. Are they going to go with Chuba Hubbard or are they going to go with Miles Sanders? Are they doing a hot, whoever's the hot back, whoever has a hot hand is going to stay in the game? I mean, there's a lot of question marks. And then the third quarter for the Carolina Panthers has been that Achilles heel for the defense. They start to wear down. They've been on the field a lot, so a lot of stuff happens. And they got backups that are out there who I believe that are playing well, but not well enough to beat the Miami Dolphins. They don't have the weapons that the Miami Dolphins have, and so over time, it just got tough.